Hello.
To all my anarchist, libertarian, and volunteerist friends I've loved before, who don't want me to vote anymore, I'm glad you came along. I'm glad you supported Ron Paul. To all my anarchist, volunteerist, and libertarian friends I've loved before. People suggest that voting is equal to consent to be governed. There are quite a few among people who supported Ron Paul who believe participation of any sort is consenting to what they would refer to as statism. When I go and cast my vote, whoever I cast my vote for, that I am somehow legitimizing the system that takes my money and uses it to kill innocent people, that takes my money and uses it to fund the NSA, the TSA, the Department of Homeland Security. They suggest that if I go and vote, that I'm saying that I support all of these things. Here's why I will not abdicate my right, nor will I not participate. I can participate, and I am not signing a contract. I don't get to the voting booth and they say, well, let's see. Here you go, here's your contract, and I look it over and it says, I, the undersigned, hereby grant permission to the state to take my money, use it to kill people, put me under surveillance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whatever else they choose. Sure, sounds good. Initial right here, sign here. By voting, clearly I agree to no such thing. The reputation that Americans have is such that no one would assume, when we look at a lack of voter participation, Americans don't exactly have a reputation of being a bunch of intellectuals who are abstaining from the voting process. The message is that we love reality TV and being entertained. When you do vote, if you vote your conscience, and I'm not talking about just voting for the Republican or the Democrat, I'm talking about going in and sending a message, whatever that message is. If it's a third-party candidate, like I'm supporting Gary Johnson, that would send a message to the establishment. Or if you wrote in a candidate, that at least says, I do not consent to your system. Or you chose Jill Stein. She'll be on the ballot in 3/4 of states. Vermin Supreme. I like Vermin Supreme. I like what he does. He's a living parody. The thing is that you can draw attention to your cause. If you think about someone like Ron Paul, would any of us be aware of the Federal Reserve as an issue were it not for this man? I mean, he is the man who was the torchbearer, calling attention to the trillions of dollars that were being given away by the Federal Reserve in secret. If he had not run for office, I highly doubt any of us would be aware of that issue. There are a lot of people who supported Ron Paul. They gave it everything they had and burned out. I can understand burnout. I've been there. I've burned myself out on causes that I've cared about before. On the other hand, I refuse to abdicate the avenue for influencing the marketplace of ideas that is available in terms of the electoral process. And third parties, keep in mind, they don't need to win in order to draw attention to issues. When I was running, I was asked repeatedly about marijuana legalization, and I was able to influence the discussion regarding marijuana legalization, holding no office whatsoever. But because I was interviewed by newspapers and by television stations, because I was on radio and TV answering questions, I was able to influence the discussion. As someone who is a freedom lover, I refuse to forfeit that unnecessarily. I like having as many platforms as possible to influence the discussion because I think our ideas sell themselves. So when I go to vote, I do not consent to be governed. I've never signed a contract. I never said that I support these wars of aggression. I never said that I support surveillance by the NSA. I never said I support any of this. There's another argument that's made. What if I vote for someone and that person gets in and they turn out and then they bomb someone, and now I'm responsible for someone they bombed? Well, yeah, that can happen. If they do that, for one thing, I hope you hold them accountable. I hope that there's hell to pay if they promise to be an anti-war candidate and then turn around and become a hawk or a warmonger. On the other hand, it's no different than if you were to hire someone at your company. You hire someone at your company and they are negligent or they make a mistake. You do your best. You try to put your trust in somebody. But at the end of the day, you have to delegate responsibility. You can't do it all yourself. So hiring has to happen. And that's all we're doing. Somebody's going to do the hiring. Somebody is going to have a platform. I personally would rather send as large a message as possible from the freedom lovers than a very quiet one. And I refuse to give that up. Thanks for watching.